Hydron Collider, and I'm here with the UK Gaming Media Network. And I'm also here with Greg from 3D Total Games. He's also brought us some quite literally hot off the press prototypes of your new game.
Pretty much.
Start off, explain who 3D Total Games are, because it's a slightly different gaming company.
Yeah, we're coming at it from a different direction. 3D Total is a 3D art company that's been around for a while now and is doing a lot of great stuff with 3D art in the UK. And the guy running it, Tom Greenway, is sort of really innovative and really likes trying lots of different things. So the company's trying to expand in different directions, and they wanted to make games, and they've been looking at making 3D anatomy figures for artists and all sorts of other really cool ideas. But they sat down and they went, we have loads of art assets, loads of really good artists who can make something look beautiful, but none of us know anything about game mechanics. So they advertised for someone to come and help them out with the design and to start designing games for them. I showed up, and we've been making games together. The first one's gone really well. This is the second, and I think this is going to go really well too. So, yeah.
Okay. Briefly, the first one you did was
404 Law Not Found. It's a game about your robots, your sort of Asimov free law robots. So you're sitting there going, I'm not going to hurt any humans, I'm not going to disobey an order, I'm not going to allow myself to be damaged. And at the start of the game, those get totally wiped and they're replaced with directives cobbled together from junk code. So you might have turn a pie into a banana, throw the monkey into space, launch a scientist out of the torpedo tube. And it's sort of a race to be the first to complete your directives against the other robots.
And that was on Kickstarter end of last year.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went really well. We ended up 230% funded.
Nice.
I got the soft proofs through last week. We're getting the hard proofs through in a couple of weeks, then we're going to go into production. So, as is traditional for Kickstarter, we're not going to be on time, but we're going to be less late than the average Kickstarter game.
So what you've got here today is Wizards Academy,
Yep.
which is your next 3D Total game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Run us through it.
Okay, so the idea here is that you're all wizards, you're in an academy, and none of you have learned anything about magic. You each get a unique character, so one of you has turned yourself into a bear and can't turn the pages of the spellbook, can't learn anything. Someone else is only there to steal magic items, someone else can't be bothered to study, one of the other characters wants to spend their whole time growing things in the garden, and at some point all of the masters are away, you do something stupid. You summon a demon, you set fire to the building, there are a pile of different scenarios, and you need to run around the academy, putting out fires, dealing with trolls, demons, imps, and trying to get everything shipshape before the place burns to the ground around your ears. The main way you interact with the game is through spells. You can walk around and pick things up, but beyond that you need magic to do anything. Want to kill an enemy? Magic. Want to swap some rooms around? Magic. Want to learn more spells and lock them in place? Magic. Want to get magic items? Magic. At the start of each game, the spells are randomized. So in the previous game it might be that if I throw down two of these ram's heads together I would have cast a fireball, but this game I will cause a cataclysm, bringing fire and water portals into the... We didn't set this up in advance, I've just dealt these out randomly, but in each game you end up with your capacities being different, so it's really a race of your ignorance against your power to learn. In the start you'll cast a bunch of spells and it's quite likely you'll cause more problems than you solve, bringing in fires and demons and floods, freezing rooms into solid blocks of ice, teleporting yourselves into rooms with no exits, and as the game goes on you learn what more and more of your spells can do, and you have the ability to sort of lock them permanently face up, so you see what that is for the rest of the game and can always check it. And that as you master the spells and have a better idea of how it works, then you become able, hopefully, to solve the problems you created before they get worse and ruin everything forever.
So what's the general aim of the game then? Because you like explain that kind of magic thing. So
yeah.
What you're trying to actually do in
Fair
the
enough.
academy.
Well, it's a cooperative game, so you all win together or you all lose together.
Okay.
And it's scenario based, so there's a series of scenarios. The most basic one is the academy's going to be invaded. We want to create some golems to defend it. So you're trying to find the golem creation spell and build enough golems to defend it. But there are others, such as you want to summon a demon and bind it to your will and use its power to achieve things. Or there's one that I've taken to referring to as the Ofsteding game, in which you have an inspector making sure the academy is safe, walking slowly around the halls, and you need to make sure the room that he's in isn't on fire or underwater, and that you're sort of desperately running into the room in front of him to clear it out before he gets there and has a look at it. And you win that one when he leaves and gives the school a perfect safety report.
Okay, that's genius.
Probably can't call it the Ofsted game since it's like international.
Well,
but
no, well, my wife's a teacher, and Ofsted is an extremely fearful thing. You know. You said the demons are in the game. I think an Ofsted inspector is actually much
more
scarier.
dangerous and much harder to get rid of.
Yeah.
But you know, it's important for mechanics to reflect theme.
Yeah. So how many scenarios are you writing for the game? Because I think with this kind of game, if they're very bespoke scenarios, you've got to have quite a few to keep the longevity, haven't you?
Well, at the moment there are 5 scenarios going for the game, but there are also 3 times as many spells as could possibly be needed to fill the spellbook. And in each game you'll only see about half of them. So for I calculated that in general it'll take about 11, 12 games before you've seen every spell, and there's more than one path to victory. So in the golem summoning, you could run into the right rooms and summon the golems there, or you could get the existing golems and teleport them about the place. Or you could end up creating a magic staff that creates golems every turn. So there's a lot of different approaches. The goal is there, and the spells are fixed so that at least one approach is valid, and there will be at least one way to win, but the rest are dealt randomly, so there may be other ways to win, and they may be more efficient as you learn how to do them. Okay. So I think each scenario's got a lot of replayability. Yeah. I've had some playtesters that are playing the same scenario 7 or 8 times, and they're still calling me up and saying, can I come and play again? So, that's always the best feedback to hear from a playtester. Can I play again? Is like,
Yeah, it's got its kind of modular board arrangement. Does that mean also that the actual academy itself is different every time you play?
Yeah, well, the academy itself is different every time you play, in that you deal out the academy semi-randomly. You normally leave one room outside of the academy, which is normally this outer dimension. There's sort of a room that's outside the building that can only be reached by teleportation or some other magics, but it can be different depending on the scenario. And your spell, everything in the game is up for grabs. There's nothing that you can't change with magic. So there's spells to reorient the rooms, there's spells to swap the rooms, there's spells to move things from one room to another. So these are all, the tiles need to be free because you're going to manipulate them. Sometimes you go, killing that enemy is too much trouble, but sort of moving it into the corner and turning the doorways to face the wall so it can't get out, that's just as good. Or sometimes better.
You brought along this little chap here.
Oh yeah.
A little bear.
Yep.
So that's your first prototype miniature of the game.
Yeah, it's the first prototype mini. I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out. That's Nevetta, who has accidentally turned herself into a bear and doesn't want to change back, because being a bear, like, if you could be a bear, you'd be a bear. Like, you're massive, you're strong, you're never going to have to worry about health problems. If an imp runs up to you, you can just crush it between your claws. It causes a little bit of problem in that she's not really very able to leaf through the pages of the books or, like, deal with the finer magic items. But all of the characters, I wanted the characters to feel different and have a different theme. So rather than going, this is the fire wizard and this is the water wizard and this is the one who does teleportation spells, they've kind of all got a theme that connects their ability. So Nevetta is a bear and is less able to be slowed down by obstacles. Susie is a 6-year-old child who's just blasé about travel and walks through the demon dimension. They just leave her alone because they're so surprised, so she can take shortcuts through portals. There's a character who can only survive underwater but floods any room they walk into, which is great for them but terrible for everyone else. You've got someone who can start fires instead of expending mana, so they can cast a load of spells really quickly as long as everyone else is willing to deal with the fact the building's on fire afterwards. It's sort of like I wanted everyone to have a theme and feel different and act differently. Again, it's sort of giving a game replayability, rather than saying we're going to have a million scenarios or a million spells, having a few scenarios, a few characters, a few rooms, and a few spells gives you so many more combinations than you could possibly achieve by having one thing in great numbers.
Yeah.
So that sort of gives it a lot more replayability it might otherwise have.
So you've got miniatures for the main, for heroes. You mentioned monsters.
Yep.
So they're going to be miniatures for the monsters
Absolutely.
as well?
In the base set, we're looking at having about 6 minis for the heroes and about 20 to 30 miniatures for the monsters. So we've got imps running around trying to steal your things, trolls that aren't dangerous to you but eat the shelves and the books and stop rooms from working properly, demons that make a beeline for the nearest living thing and kill it regardless of which side it's on. So if you can manage them carefully, they might be an asset. You have the golems, the guardians that you can build, and you've got the inspector. So there are a lot of things in the game, and we want to have models for all of them. As I said, I'm working for a 3D art company. They've been a 3D art company for a lot longer than they've been a games company. We have a fantastic stable of really talented artists. So, like, if we weren't making games with models, we're not using our best asset. And I think that's turned out really well. And I've seen the 3D files for the other models, and they look fantastic. I think it's
I was just about to say, I've seen a lot of the 3D images you've posted, because you do a game development blog on Board Game Geek and on your own website.
Absolutely, yeah. It's 3dtotalgames.com or 3dtotalgames on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, and some of those designs do look really nice, I must admit.
Yeah.
So what's the timetable then? Obviously you are reasonably along in the development, because you've got some pretty well set out boards and, of course, nice artwork, because, well, that's your art company. What's the timetable? I assume you're going to Kickstarter with it, because that's what you've done in the past. Yeah,
well, we'll end up going to Kickstarter with it. Essentially, once we get to the point that we've built up enough of an audience that a traditional publishing approach is something that we can be confident about, then we'll go on to that. But at the moment, it's only our second game. We need to make sure the market's there before we make thousands of copies, especially with so many miniatures in the thing. But yeah, essentially, the next step, where the mechanics are nailed down, the rules as intended, We're happy with them. The playtest is coming back very positive. Some reviewers have seen it and come back very positively. The rules as intended are brilliant. The rules as written do not always reflect the rules as intended. So we're currently taking things to playtesters and getting them to have a look at it and play the game from just the rulebook, people who've never seen the game before, and when they come back and go, we didn't know how to play it, or I watched them and they do something crazy, then we're rewriting it. And once we nail down the rules, we're ready for the next step. The other limiting factor is that with 404 kickstarted but not yet delivered, we don't want to go to Kickstarter and ask for your money before we've delivered on our previous promises. We don't want to say, can we have some more money please? We want to say, here is what we promised, we did a good job, we can do another good job, here we go. So like the manufacturing lead time on 404 is going to be a limiting factor on this as well.
Right. You just mentioned then that you briefly said that you were thinking of going and doing traditional publishing later on down the line. So you are actually using Kickstarter to kickstart the company.
Well, yeah, I mean, the company's around. The company's not going anywhere because the art stuff has been around for a while. It's going really well, and there's a good core to the company there. But what we're using it to do, is effectively it's a proof of concept for the gaming division. And it's quite likely we'll be on Kickstarter for a while because, like, publishing it requires, at the moment, we've kickstarted 404 about £23,000. To make it, produce it, ship it out to everyone and deliver it to everyone, we're going to end up spending about £21,000. So we maybe made a little bit of money on it, but not very much. So to get to the point the games department has made enough money that we go, we've got £30,000 in the pot, we can afford to do some wonderful manufacturing and distribution run. That's a long way off. It's sort of it's a dream, and in a few years I'm hoping sort of like, that we'll get to join all of the big games publishers, but we've got to start somewhere. And I think this is a really good place to start, and the reactions I'm getting from people who are getting to try these games, I'm just sort of really pleased to have them out there and see people smiling about them.
Excellent. So before we go, where can we read more about 3D Total and your games?
Okay, my blog, 3dtotalgames.com, there's a link there for each of the games that we're making. You can email me personally. I'm quite happy to speak to anyone who's interested in the project and our customers. It's really me personally, Greg, not talking as the company for a minute. The reason I'm involved in this is that I love games and I love seeing people enjoying games. And the best bit of my job for me is when I put it in front of someone and they play. And you get that energy. It's not necessarily a particular smile or a particular look, but you get an energy around the table that just tells you these guys are having a great time, they're enjoying that. Having that feeling and seeing it there and knowing, like, I did something to help create that's fantastic, and that's what I'm all about. So, I possibly am overly familiar with the people that I'm dealing with as customers, but I like talking to people. I like talking to people about the games. I like getting involved with people who are testing and hearing their individual feedback and hearing their anecdotes and their stories. So just get in touch, because I think it's wonderful that Kickstarter and that small publishers and the way we're doing it are tearing down the barriers between creators and people who are enjoying these things. So look me up on Board Game Geek, or go to 3dtotalgames.com and comment on the blog, or just get in touch however you like, whatever means suits you.
Okay, thanks very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.